The mysteries of the larynx. This practice consists of breathing with a friction at the lower part of the back of the throat, while keeping the mouth slightly open. The friction is generated during both inhalation and exhalation. It creates a wind type of sound. There is neither humming nor buzzing, nor any form of chanted sound. The sound is roughly the same while inhaling and exhaling. If you can, try to make it a low-pitched sound. It will be easier to sustain over long periods of time. But before giving more indications and tips on the throat friction, let me make a few points extremely clear. Don't try to start a quest for the perfect throat friction. Just do a kind of friction sound and let it adjust itself with time. Throat friction, tips and traps. If you wish to have an immediate demonstration, you can hear sound files of throat friction, but again, keep in mind that any vague friction sound will be enough to carry you through the exercises of awakening the third eye. It does not matter whether you are breathing through the nose or the mouth, or both at the same time, but the mouth should remain slightly open. In this position the lower jaw is loose and relaxed, which generates a certain condition of energy and can be enough in itself to induce a slightly altered state of consciousness. The friction comes from area L. For larynx, the throat friction is more comfortable and more efficient when it comes from the back of the throat, not from the mouth and palate, area M on the figure, M for middle of the mouth, nor from the area close to the teeth, area F, F for front of the mouth. If you were to produce your friction from the middle M or the front F of the mouth, the sound would be higher pitched and somewhat shriller or even whistly. Experiment and compare each one. The correct friction comes from the larynx and the lower pharynx, meaning the lower part of the back of the throat, area L on the figure. Then the correct sound is lower pitched, deeper and more internalized than if it came from the front of the mouth. Another possible mistake would be to generate your friction from the upper pharynx, nasopharynx, meaning at the back but at the top of the throat, behind the inner nasal cavity, area N on the figure. In that case, which is incorrect, the friction would resonate more in the nasal sinuses than in the throat. Often when performing the throat friction you can feel a tiny but distinct vibration in the larynx by gently touching your Adam's apple with your fingers. The Adam's apple is the external protuberance of the larynx, in the upper part of the middle of the throat. It is more marked in men than in women. In the beginning this vibration under the finger is often felt more clearly during inhalation than exhalation, even though the same sound is produced during both. How deep should the breath be? Its depth and rhythm should be as normal. Slightly deeper breathing may be implemented in the beginning, in order to generate a clearer friction, but you do not need to hyperventilate. This technique does not aim at creating the type of breathing used in rebirthing. Our purpose is to activate the energy of the larynx through friction. The emphasis is not on breathing but on awakening the larynx of energy. The purpose of the throat friction is to reinforce your connection with the energy, a term that may sound vague in the beginning but will become more and more meaningful as you keep working on your third eye. As you become more accustomed to this friction practice, you will only have to tune into the flow of energy around you and the right intensity of the breath will follow automatically. Depth and rhythm will vary, for it is the nature of energy to vary, and it is our purpose to learn to flow with the energy. The energetic action of this friction breathing will be greatly enhanced if your neck is straight and vertical, in line with the rest of the spine. The more perfectly upright your neck is, the more power is released in the larynx. This can be experienced as a sudden intensification of the vibration that sometimes takes place when slightly moving the neck, thereby coming closer to the perfect uprightness. The mouth is only slightly open, but still it is important to make sure that it remains open, and more precisely that the lower jaw is relaxed so that the upper and lower teeth do not meet. When you have become familiar with the vibration between the eyebrows, try to practice the throat friction with your mouth tightly closed, and then with the mouth slightly open, alternating the two positions to feel the difference in your energy. You will notice that as soon as the lower jaw is relaxed and slightly dropped, a completely different condition of your energy is generated in which the connection with the vibration is enhanced and a general opening is favored. Note also that this slightly open position of the mouth is not taken to force you to breathe through the mouth instead of the nose. Breathe through the nose, the mouth or both at the same time, as feels most natural to you. Beginners sometimes feel that this technique makes their throat dry or slightly irritated. If so, produce the friction lower down in the throat. Beginners often make the friction higher up in the throat, closer to the palate, which is irritating to the throat. In any case, by practicing for a few minutes several times a day, this inconvenience inconvenience will soon be overcome. High-quality honey can also be used as a soother and awakener. With practice, this friction can be maintained effortlessly for hours. After a few days of practice, the throat friction adjusts itself naturally and all irritating sensations disappear. It should be emphasized that the focus of this technique is on the larynx, not on the breath.